We have this like-minded thought process of how we want to lift others to rise. It's not just about me, like, that's great, I'm here, but I'm here because I want others to succeed. And I'm in leadership because I want to make our profession better than when I got into it, when I graduated from school.
One thing ADHA has given me is a support system that I am so incredibly grateful for. And I wouldn't have this great, amazing career and all these opportunities if I didn't have all these cheerleaders along the way.
You don't have to go into leadership. Just you being a member is enough to make you part of the national efforts. Your membership dues go to helping us move things forward.
We always say we should own our profession, but we should own our profession as a professional association, ADHA. You want change and you want to be a change maker and be a part of change, then you yourself need to get involved.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists, an Endeavor Business Media production. This is episode number 403. I'm your host, Andrew Johnston, and thank you so much for being with us today. This episode is a fun one. It's a bigger roundtable than we've had in the past. I was joined by Becky Smith, Erin Haley-Hitz, Lancette Van Guilder, and Dawn Dean, and we talked about their thoughts on leadership, about being connected, being united as a profession, among several other topics that we discussed. Next week, we have an episode on Chinese tongue diagnosis with Lanny Macbeth. So make sure you come back for that one. And then because this episode went a little bit over time, you're going to get a super short intro, other than the fact that I do want to mention real quick that I'll be headed over to the ADA SmileCon this weekend in Orlando. And so if you see me in the podcast lounge, which is on the exhibit hall floor, come by and say hi. I think we have 10 interviews or so lined up for Friday, and several of them are going to be from people that you've heard before. And there's going to be a few new names and faces, I think, or voices, I guess. So you can be looking forward to all of those episodes coming out over the next several months. Thank you again for listening, and enjoy this episode on leadership.
A tale of two hygienists.
So, okay.
We're happy hygienists.
I know.
On a Friday.
And when we talk, when the four of us talk, it's hysterical because we tend to go long.
We do.
Was it always
We're
this dynamic
finishing
though?
other
Like, or
sentences.
did you guys just like day one magically like
Yes.
you were there?
Fun.
Oh yeah, we were there.
We've always had this dynamic.
Yeah.
Is one of you more of like the catalyst that
Yeah.
brings you all together than the other one?
No,
I think we're all pretty equal, Andrew, honestly. Yeah, when Becky and I met, when she came on board as VP and I was PE, we just clicked. And then Erin came along. She was in our, so we had Batman, Robin, and then another little sidecar, and Erin just brought her along as VP. And then Lancette and Shantae came. And so it just really, it was just meant to be. It's always been
Because
this
you know, it's
way.
interesting.
And we talk every day.
Yeah.
It slowed down a little bit because they have to develop their team. But we talked every
yeah,
single
we had
day.
a text message like through our phones that we just had a group, and it just kept getting mixed up with everything else. So I just went and named it the Big Three, like from This Is Us, from the TV show This Is Us. The kids are the Big Three. And so it just kind of stuck. So we were like, now we're the Big Five.
Yep, now we're the Big Five.
Yeah, we're Fast
It's interesting
Five.
because I think a lot of times when you have, and I mean this in the kindest sense, but like you guys are all very strong individuals. But when you have strong individuals, when you put them all together, sometimes it doesn't exactly mesh or meld. And so this is an interesting dynamic. I'm glad that you guys all get along because we're going to have a great time today.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you
so
for
here we go.
having us.
Well, listeners, we've already started the interview. Sorry, I didn't give you guys a heads up, but we've already started this. Welcome into the interview portion of the podcast. We are going to go ahead and start with introductions. And I think it's fitting that maybe we start with Dawn. If you'll introduce yourself.
Sure. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Dawn Dean here, your ADHA immediate past president. I served with Dr. Becky Smith as the 100th year anniversary presidents for the American Dental Hygienists Association. I'm currently a full-time professor at the West Virginia University School of Dentistry, and I have enjoyed every minute of this process. And I also serve as the Institute for Oral Health Foundation chair of the board of directors, and that's going to be something we're going to expand upon as we go along. So yeah, let's roll into Becky.
Hi, I'm Dr. Becky Smith. I'm the ADHA president for 23-24. Like Dawn, I am a full-time educator. I've been a hygienist for 32 years. I live here in Florida, same as you, Andrew.
Yes.
And I'm excited about the team that we have, and not just the officers, but the board, the entire board, and the staff. The staff are amazing, and I'm really excited about this interview and about this coming year.
Great, Becky. My name is Erin Haley-Hitz, and I am the current president-elect of the American Dental Hygienists Association. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, so go Big Red for any of those Husker fans. Got to put that plug in there. And I am a full-time clinical dental hygienist. I practice in a general practice here in Lincoln. And this has just been the ride of my life. 5 years on the board of directors, and here I am at president-elect. I'm so excited to serve with Dawn and Becky, and now Lancette coming up behind me. It really kind of completes the circle for me. So I'm glad to be here.
Hi, everyone. I am Lancette Van Guilder on the West Coast, coming to you from Reno, Nevada. I've been a hygienist for about 28 years. I am a clinician at heart. I still work in private practice. I probably will till the day I die. I love it. But I also work in all the other professional roles of the dental hygienist, and I'm really passionate about access to care, public health, medical dental integration, and really expanding opportunities for hygienists. I'm a big advocacy guru. I'm all into policy making and really just transforming healthcare. Serving on this board at this moment is a dream come true for me. I've served in leadership positions for all 28 years of my career, state, local, and national level. And I'm back on the ADHA board because I'm really excited about transforming our profession and our association for the next 100 years.
We're going to put a pin in that one and come back to it, Lancette. And then that might also be like one of the quote tracks that we use for this later on, because this is the thing. I'm so excited for this group also. You are all excited to be a part of this together. But me as an outsider looking at you, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the team. This is the team that's going to, really do that next step. But here's the question I have for all of you, really. I think leadership is such a it sucks to be a leader.
Hard.
I'll be honest. Like that's just the verbiage that it's so hard. It's no one is appreciative of it. There's like no monetary compensation worth of anything to be able to do, what you all do. So why are you doing it?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. My journey, ADHA story, began when I was a dental hygiene student at West Liberty University in West Liberty, West Virginia. And I started as a student American Dental Hygienists Association president, was elected by my peers. And it was my faculty that actually was talking to me about, one day you could become the president of the American Dental Hygienists Association. And in my final year, I thought, wow, what would that look like if I became the president? That would be so exciting. But I never dreamed, Andrew, that would occur. And so here we are, right? Almost 40 years later, if you can imagine. I know I look young to you. The listeners cannot see me, but I know I look really young to you. But it's unbelievable that it's almost been 40 years. And like Lancette said, I hail from the mountain state. So the journey was about a theme, that we rise by lifting others. Robert Ingersoll, our favorite life quote, because we're on a journey and we were climbing, throughout the first part of this 100th year journey into Chicago, where we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the American Dental Hygienists Association. And then I passed the baton to Becky, as I'm going to do right now. And she's going to share what her journey meant to her and how she got started with the American Dental Hygienists Association.
Thanks, Dawn. So at annual conference, Dawn, myself, and Erin actually did a presentation on hashtag Think, Believe, Dream, Dare, or in Spanish, hashtag Piensa, Cree, Sueña, Atrévete. And we talked about our light.
Let's say that all together.
We talked about our light bulb moments. And I said, mine wasn't really a light switch moment. Sorry, not light bulb, light switch moment. Mine was more like a dimmer increasing in brightness as it went. It was very, very gradual. I was not a leader in hygiene school. Even after I graduated from hygiene school, I didn't really get into, because I worked on an Indian reservation. So what ADHA offered me, I was a member, don't get me wrong, but this was the day before internet, before, you could just, at your fingertips, you could see what was going on in the rest of the world and the rest of the country. So finding out about CE courses, it was hard. And there really wasn't anything I was interested in. It wasn't until I became an educator that one of the faculty kind of pulled me into a meeting and mentored me. And then the world of House of Delegates opened up to me, and I didn't even know that existed. And I could see the business and stuff of ADHA. And it wasn't until I got to my very first ADHA annual conference in New Orleans in 2007. And I listened to the advocacy update and the association update. And I thought, this is where all my membership money goes. This is what ADHA is doing for me. All the things that were mentioned in there, in that annual conference and in that particular session. And since then, everything just started. It seems like it was really fast, but I guess it wasn't. That was already 16 years ago. So it was very, very gradual, although it seems very fast. But I do it because I feel that I can make a difference and that I can help improve things. And that's my why. Erin?
Wow. I don't know. These are two amazing women that I have to follow. But I'm a lot like them in the fact, especially Becky, mine was more of a dimmer switch. I think it wasn't like a light bulb flipped on, and here I am, president-elect. And like Lancette, I've been a clinical dental hygienist my entire career, with the exception of a year and a half in education, which I decided wasn't quite my track. But I have a passion for working with patients and being in a general practice, especially because I get to see everything, all ages, from 100 years old all the way down to even a year old. And I love that about what I do. And in that 29 years, I've always been a member. I've been a member since I was a student. I was not a real active member as a student. I kind of just hung out in the background and was always involved in any of the community events we did. And I didn't really get the bug until I got out of school, and someone said, "Oh, you should get involved in the component." And that's where it started for me. In my local component, started as component president, did that, I think, 2 years, and really enjoyed that. Took a little bit of a hiatus in grad school. All kinds of life events happened in that moment in time, but I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for other people lifting me up. And so I think that's one of the things that probably resonates with all 4 and 5 of us. With I don't know our treasurer all that well, but I have a feeling she's the same. And we have this like-minded thought process of how we want to lift others to rise. It's not just about me. That's great, I'm here, but I'm here because I want others to succeed. And I'm in leadership because I want to make our profession better than when I got into it, when I graduated from school. And in the 29 years, so many things have changed from the very beginning of my career to now. Expansion of our scope. I was the first class in Nebraska that got to do local anesthesia, and that's what really got me going, was watching my faculty fight for that, literally in the legislature, testimony, to the committees and such, and getting that local anesthesia. For us, as we graduated, we were the first ones, and I felt really privileged to be able to watch that process and learn from her. She just retired. I'm kind of going to miss her, but but that's why I'm here. Lancette, why don't you tell us about you?
Yeah, well, my journey started when I was six years old. I decided I wanted to be a hygienist. It was my first trip to the dental office. It was an emergency visit. Had broken off teeth and on the playground. Had to go to the dental office in emergency, and I'm crying, my mom's crying, and I had such an amazing experience at this dental office that I left, and I thought they were so nice and they were so kind and they took care of me, and my teeth looked better when I left than when I went in. That I decided then that my future was dentistry, and I've never looked back. I couldn't imagine doing anything else besides dentistry. My leadership journey started as a student. I had really great faculty at the University of South Dakota. I was vice president of my SATA class, and I guess I just found really early on that you get out of your career what you put into it. And, my parents taught me that through my whole growing up, right? That you can't sit around and think that other people are going to create better things for you. You have to create it for yourself. And I know I wanted a great career. I was very passionate. And I think my involvement in ADHA, with my upbringing, my early interest, my mentors along the way, one thing ADHA has given me is a support system that I am so incredibly grateful for. And I wouldn't have this great, amazing career and all these opportunities if I didn't have all these cheerleaders along the way. So faculty, my parents, my professional, members, leaders in the association that have lifted me up and cheered me on. And I come to them with ideas and they're like, yes, you can do that. Let's help you. Let's, make it happen. So, started as a 6-year-old and now I just continue to grow and thrive because of this amazing system I have.
Andrew, I love your podcast because I'm learning so much more. Lancette just shared about her childhood, and it reminded me that age 4, I had the dental hygiene bug then as an advocate, because advocacy is our overarching, right, vocation as a dental hygienist. And so our dentists kept giving us prizes at the end of our restorative appointments, which were lollipops on strings, if you can imagine. And I said to him when I was 4 years old, Dr. Hadgis, you need to start giving a prize, a treasure chest. And so he did. He switched and he realized, because I said, you're promoting decay and you're harming us. And I wasn't getting to spend much time in the blue room with the dental hygienist. And I was in the pink room with the restorative too much. So I wanted to be in the blue room with my dental hygienist. And so that's how that story got started.
Well, I wanted to be a dentist when I was 6. So this is kind of amazing. I'm learning so much about the two of you. It's amazing.
What? You guys are welcome that I connected you guys finally. So you guys have these conversations. Come on. You guys are so funny. Well, Lancette, I want to come back to something that you had mentioned earlier about, kind of transforming the next 100 years, because I think, Erin, you kind of mentioned a little bit, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, like the people that came before us, right, that have really created this pathway. But at the same time, we kind of have to do our own stuff too. So I kind of wanted to ask you all, what is the next 100 years? What is the next 5 years? where are we going as an organization, as a profession, and where should we be going as individuals?
Yeah, as an organization, I mean, we're growing exponentially. We're in a renaissance. This is a movement forward for a next generation of legacy leaders. And I often thought during my ADHA presidency, looking back, what would the next generation 100 years from now, right, Andrew, be looking at and saying as they look back at us, and what would they see us doing? And so we're in the smile business, but we know that we're oral and systemic, and we're connected, as one whole, well-being, that we're looking at the whole person. And so I think that's where we are right now. We're looking forward to how can we connect, as Becky said, how can we create a culture of connectivity? Because that's really where we're at, creating a culture of belonging and connectivity, and the excitement over innovation in our industry and where we're going to take this industry and the leaders, and where we're going to grow in innovation for the future.
An example of that would be our work with the License Portability Compact. We've been working with that for already 3 or 4 years. And right now, things are actually really moving forward. There's actually 3 states that have enacted legislation already to have that license compact available in their state. It's Iowa, Tennessee, and Washington State. And then 5 more are in the process of pending legislation. That's Kansas, Minnesota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And as soon as we have 7 states that have signed on to the compact, then the whole thing will be operationalized. So then hygienists can actually move around to those states without having to retake all of their licensing exams. Whatever license they have in the state that they're coming from will be recognized. And as long as they follow the laws and rules of the state that they are going to, they're good. So it's increasing portability. There's a lot of frustration with hygienists of not being able to move easily between states. So partnering with the Department of Defense and with the American Dental Association and working with the Council of State Governments to get this licensing compact is another way that ADHA is helping to move our profession forward. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to getting more states signing on this coming year. because we're starting, and now I'm hoping that it's going to just have a domino effect and just, knock everything down, and we be able to move freely between states.
And Becky, what's so cool about that is ADA, ADHA is working together, CSG and the DOD. So we have the federal government involved, and that's a big step for us because we know that autonomy ultimately is where we would like to see the dental hygiene profession grow and expand. But right now we're in state statutes, so we're really controlled in the way we practice in regard to each individual state. So that's what's so exciting about the Dentist and Dental Hygienist Compact, that we brought together, two associations, the ADA and ADHA, CSG, Council of State Governments, and then the DOD, Department of Defense.
I think, Lancette, you have something that I'm not able to do in Nebraska, but you can do it.
Yeah, so
You're a vaccinator.
This is exactly like why I am so passionate about our association. Is ADHA is the primary entity that is involved in advocacy. How do we transform healthcare? How do we allow hygienists to move from state to state? How do we expand the scope of practice? It is by changing laws and changing policies. And what I see the future for ADHA, what I'm so excited about, talk about this next 100 years, it is an organization that's leading with kindness, with empathy, with a mindset of collaboration, and that we're not going to do it alone, and that we need to work with other groups, dental hygiene groups, international and national stakeholders. And that's where ADHA, that's where our sweet spot is. And if we can go into this next century with this mindset of innovation and growth and opportunity, but with kindness and collaboration, I think we can accomplish anything. And, I've been working on in Nevada through my professional association, working on hygienists giving vaccines since 2018, way before the pandemic. People thought I was crazy. Why would hygienists ever want to give vaccines? And but I knew I was laying the groundwork through our professional association years before the pandemic. The pandemic hit. Well, I remember this hygienist that was talking about vaccines, and now I've given thousands, as well as hygienists across the country. I look at vaccines as just one tool in our toolkit, that hygienists have. But as hygienists are looking towards their career, we all have a different vision and dream of what a healthy, wonderful career looks like. And for me, it's medical dental integration. It's getting hygienists out into the community, or if we're in our private practice, practicing at the top of our skill set. We are smart, educated, knowledgeable practitioners.
That's right.
And there's so much more that we could be doing. I think hygienists are severely underutilized in the dental office and in our communities. So, I'm super passionate about hygienists being able to give all vaccines. We're coming into the fall now where we have that triple threat of flu, COVID, RSV. We have the HPV vaccine was approved by the FDA in 2020 to prevent oropharyngeal cancers. So hygienists can be on the front line, with vaccine administration, and that's just one tool in the toolbox. But hygienists are preventive specialists. So, expanding our scope of practice, expanding where we can practice and how we practice is absolutely on the forefront of ADHA's agenda.
Yeah, lasers. So West Virginia just passed laser certification in July of 2022. So I'm laser certified as of this March. So we're really excited about as Lancette said, expanding the opportunities for dental hygienists to work at their fullest scope of practice. And I think that's what's so frustrating to dental hygienists across the nation and really around the world, is that their ability to provide the preventative services, because they're preventative healthcare specialists, and to be able to work at the top of the scope is so critical to the care that we provide patients, and to actually be recognized in our professional role. And also, if there are not specific changes, how that will be critical to our education. So if we're not working to the fullest scope, or if other, non-licensed individuals are being given dental hygienist duties, for example, which is another big concern of dental hygienists across the nation, then that is also limiting the value of the education. And we all know, I see everyone smiling. Our viewers cannot see that, but I'm telling you, they're smiling broadly, that they fully support, all of us fully support that dental hygienists work to the fullest scope of their practice. And it can be very limiting and very frustrating. So that's where the ADHA comes in and the roles that we have as legacy leaders and leaders within the industry, because it's that community of belonging. And so essential to the growth of the profession to have an organization that advocates for you while you're in your day job. And that's so important.
I just, every time these ladies talk, Andrew, I just get goosebumps. It's unbelievable, the minds that we have at ADHA. And I think what I really am most excited about for the next generation or the next 100 years is that work towards autonomy. I'd love to see hygienists in so many different settings and not only in a clinical practice. I know that, I mean, I'm not as limited in Nebraska, but there are places where hygienists can't work anywhere but a clinical practice. But I'd love to see hygienists in hospitals. I'd love to see hygienists in nursing homes as an employee of a nursing home facility, not an independent contractor that comes in, but somebody that's always on staff. Also, long-term care, rehabilitation, school systems with kiddos. We've got nonprofits doing that kind of work. But I think that it would be just fabulous if hygienists had more opportunities to be able to practice at their full scope, but not being caged within the clinical practice. I'm very fortunate to work for an employer that lets me use my operatory as I see fit as a hygienist. And that is a really freeing, that's a really energizing feeling when I go to work, and knowing that my employer supports everything that I might say to a patient. And that's just my feeling for the next 100 years. I want the next generation of hygienists to be excited about what they do every day. I want them to be excited to go to work, because let's face it, some people aren't, and they're looking for something different. And like Lance said earlier, you have to create that for yourself. And I think that ADHA was that for me as I grew up from a baby hygienist. I think that's something that we've had other people talk about, baby hygienist. 5 years out, I thought, is this it? Is this all I'm going to do? There's got to be more. And more is at ADHA. More education, more collaboration. And I just would love to see that for the next generation of hygienists.
I think one of the things I like talking with all of you individually and kind of as a group is I don't think that any one of you are afraid of like kind of the tougher questions. And so I have a couple of maybe they're not real hard questions, but they're a little bit the concerns that the everyday hygienist has. And I kind of wanted to have those addressed today, if you don't mind. One thing I hear quite often, and you all touched on this on the positive side of it, but let's say that I wanted to be a part of ADHA, but not in a leadership capacity. I just want to be just like an everyday person. What does that role look like? And how can I still be involved?
I was that everyday person that wasn't involved for 14, 15 years of post-graduation and being an ADHA member. I graduated with the sense that I should be a member of my professional association because I'm a professional now, and you should be a member of your professional association. So I always had my membership. It never occurred to me that there was more. Back then, it was more difficult to know because everything came by mail. But now you get emails, and ADHA releases like an update every 2 weeks. There's a leadership link that goes out. It's like at least once a month with different resources for the leaders. And there, so that to me is, you don't have to go into leadership. Just you being a member is enough to make you part of the national efforts. Your membership dues go to helping us move things forward. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, Becky, I wanted you to share a little bit about the mentorship match program. You've had a wonderful experience with the mentorship opportunity.
Yeah, that actually just happened this week. So a couple of years ago, ADHA launched a mentor match. So a lot of people, hygienists, signed up to be mentors, but very few actually signed up to be a mentee. So I kind of forgot all about it. And then this past weekend, I got an email saying that someone had matched up with me. And so we actually texted back and forth, and then we talked. And it's a hygienist who was a year out of school. She graduated in Arizona, but is living now in Denver, in Colorado. And here I am in Miami. And she had been temping for a year. She sounds young. Maybe she's not, but she sounds young. She's a year out. She'd been temping for a year. She told me that she hadn't really done any SRPs in a year, and she was debating whether she should take a permanent job in an office or continue temping. She felt very lost. She didn't know like what to do. She didn't feel comfortable with doing local anesthesia because she hadn't done it in over a year. And so we conversed. I encouraged her. I gave her some different options. And then I put her in contact with Janet Madrid, who has her own mobile dental van hygiene practice that goes around in the Denver area, and with Alyssa Aberly, who's the executive director of the Colorado Dental Hygienists Association. And immediately, like within half an hour to an hour of me hanging up the phone with Paola, Janet had already talked to her, and they'd set up a date for them to get together and her to go to the van. So that's our mission, to unite and empower dental hygienists. That is the ADHA mission. And to me, that's like a perfect example of how we can accomplish this, like one by one, or even, groups at a time.
And Becky, the other part that she left off, Andrew, was that this hygienist did not know she was talking to the ADHA president.
What a shock.
So little did she know.
No, she didn't. She didn't.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Gotta start minding your P's and Q's after that point.
Yeah, and she was Hispanic, which is great because I'm Hispanic. So that was like another connection, that we had. And I mean, I guess it would make her feel a little more comfortable. But, I think the fact that she was able to connect with somebody like right away, it was like a relief to her because she felt very isolated and kind of siloed in this and didn't, I'm assuming she didn't really know anybody much in the Denver area, but immediately I was able to put her into the ADHA Colorado DHA family.
Which, by the way, is a very strong, awesome group up there. We love people. We love our Colorado
Right,
people.
it is.
I think for the everyday
Yes.
member, I think that, I have several friends that are everyday members. And part of the reason why they're members because of me. They have watched me over the last 29 years and the work that I've done, and they want to support me in that. But at the same time, they find their connection. It's all about a connection to a group. So you're not stuck in your own silo, especially if you're in a small practice and you're the hygienist all by yourself, right? You don't have that other colleague to bounce things off of through the day. And I think that ADHA for the everyday member is that. It's finding that group, that local connection that you can call on and say, hey, I'm struggling with this and I don't know how to do this. And how do I we've all been there where we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to code something, or we didn't know something else. And so having that local connection is really, I think, the key for me and for my couple. I'm thinking about my two closest friends that we graduated together, and they've always been members, and they always come to me and ask me if I know something, of course, but but they know right where to find it. I can go to the website, I can go here, I get my emails, and the important piece of that is they're very self-motivated to look for the information. And I think that's also important to mention, is that we also need to be self-motivated because that's not going to come to us. We have to look for it and invite it in and manifest it in our lives.
I think the grassroots member is the heart of the organization. It is absolutely what ADHA needs to thrive and be successful for the future. We need leaders, we need grassroots members, and we need everything in between. And ADHA has something for everybody. If you want to pay your membership dues and just feel like I am supporting the organization that has my back, that's great. If you're interested in research, we have the Journal of Dental Hygiene. ADHA is one of the only associations that publishes its own research journal. We have the new Hygienist Hub, which is going to, share articles and different types of support and resources for hygienists. We have our CE events, clinical evidence-based CE, really, really great topics like the one coming up on active shooter training, and then you have mentorship and support and, anything that you could possibly need, it's there for you. So I've always described ADHA as being a professional home. There's resources and there's things for you. If you want to pay your membership and support the organization and not have any other interaction, oh my gosh, thank you, we need you. And if you want to take advantage of all these other resources, they're there for you.
No, I like it. But it also, these last two, Erin and Lancette, like you both said something that kind of triggers like the next question. You see in the forums a lot about communication, right? It's the everyday hygienist. They're saying like, hey, well, I don't feel like ADHA is communicating to me. Erin, you said a great point of, well, it's two-way street. Like you gotta, like you have to be motivated to actually find these things. But tell me about
To open your inbox.
right? It's in the inbox.
Or check your
But tell us
spam.
about how
Yeah.
are you trying to solicit feedback from maybe even the non-member, or maybe the person who has blocked the ADHA emails or whatever? Like, how are you still trying to reach out to everyone to get a consensus and keep your finger on the pulse of the profession?
One of the things that we just had a meeting with the senior division directors at ADHA like headquarters. And one of the things that we discussed was we're going to be sending out a membership survey pretty soon. We haven't done one in 5 years to ask exactly those kinds of questions. Like, what do you want from us? What more do we need? Something like that. And hygienists are really good at doing surveys. They like completing surveys. We usually have a pretty good return rate.
We like giving our opinion is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one way that we're going to try to figure out how we can reach that hygienist. A lot of times they're not receiving communications from us because they unsubscribed to it and didn't realize that they unsubscribed to it. So if that's the case and they're not receiving anything, they can reach out to their state leader, to their district director, to find out how to get back into the subscription, aisle of being able to receive all of those communications. And it's also, like Erin said, you have to be a little self-motivated to find the answers to stuff instead of waiting for everybody to, give it to you. You have to reach out and do a little research. Things are at your fingertips now with the internet. If you go into adha.org and type into the search what you're looking for, you're probably going to find it. Our new website just launched back in February, and it's phenomenal. It has a great
Fantastic.
look. I think it's easier to find things. We have the membership portal. If you're a member, you can go in and you have access to a lot of things in there that if you're not a member, you wouldn't have access to. But those are like some of the things that we are doing to try to reach those people that feel like they're not getting the communications. But sometimes it's just a matter of don't delete that email, actually open it and read through it. And oh, look, there's things in here that, and you're tempted to just delete it because sometimes, you receive a lot of emails like, oh, another email from ADHA, but that might be the one email that you really want to open. So it doesn't take long to just click it open and glance through it and see if there's anything of interest to you. And if not, you can always delete it. Just like on, social media, if you're reading something that you don't like, just keep scrolling.
Scroll on. Yeah.
And Andrew, to that point, there's 226K dental hygienists across the nation. And so the ADHA has been tapping into this populace for over 100 years now. We're coming up to the 101st year next year in New Orleans, which will be, Becky will be celebrating her presidential year, unbelievably, next July, if you can believe it, at 2024. And we'll be welcoming and celebrating Erin Haley-Hitz as she comes in as our new president next year. So we have we are thinking about the dental hygienists across the country. We're all social media gurus. We live and breathe on social media. And so we see all the Facebook groups. And I have to say that, Andrew, what you mentioned about the new leadership mindset, this mountaineer mindset, right? That we're climbing and we're on a journey together, we're making history together and we're moving forward, is that dental hygienists actually were reaching out in the positive. I didn't see as much negativity on social media. You're nodding your head. Audience, Andrew's nodding his head, and everyone here is nodding our heads. We did not see that. In fact, there was a post, and I'll have to look for it and I'll get it to you, that I posted on one of Elijah Desmond's, Facebook groups. And when I was on with him and I posted answered all the tough questions, right? There were a lot of, different opinions about ADHA. And they were like, Dawn, we just needed to hear this. We needed to hear the reality, right, of the association, how important it is that we all support our professional association. We always say we should own our profession, right? But we should own our profession as a professional association, ADHA. So we need to own both. And I always say, if you want change and you want to be a change maker and be a part of change, then you yourself need to get involved. And so when we have more members, we have a louder voice. And so on the tripartite level, at the local, state, national level, with that collective voice, it's going to be hard to shut that down. But when you have a small group of dental hygienists trying to do the enlarged group's work, that strains the system. And I know Becky will want to, and Erin and Lancette, give a big shout out to our staff. You know, we have 16 member powerhouse staff at the American Dental Hygienists Association, our corporate office in Chicago, and then across the country. And this staff is powerful and mighty, and the staff board partnership is strong. And, you know, we went through a very difficult few years with our beloved CEO, Ann Bottrell, passing away in June, on June 7th this year. And so it was really hard, but we came together with strength and empowerment and with love. And so when we were at the annual conference in Chicago, and we were all there, the lights went up and everyone held their phone up, and we gave a wonderful celebration of life to Ann Bottrell. And we had everyone there, all our corporate sponsors, all our past presidents, all of our members, and all of our state leaders. And it was incredible. It was electrifying because the universe was speaking to us and we were connected. And really, that's what it's all about.
I'd like to hear from Lancette, because Lancette is in a unique position that she served on the board several years ago and took a little hiatus, and explored other different avenues, and now she's back on the board. So I'd like to hear a little from Lancette.
Well, it feels amazing to be back. I was off the board for 7 years, and I worked really hard when I was on the board, and decided, that time it just wasn't right for me to move on into higher leadership at that point. But for 7 years, I never let it go, and I watched the organization, and I just, this, few months leading up into annual conference and House of Delegates, just felt this pull, like I want our profession to just explode with opportunities. I want our association to be on the forefront of creating those opportunities, connecting hygienists, and I just felt like I had to just jump back in and want to be a part of it. I want change, I want growth, I want opportunities. And I feel like I had a lot of experience and background to give, and I'm learning a lot in these first couple months. It isn't like it used to be. It's different. It is different. Our profession is different. Our association is different, and I'm excited for the future. When I look at what's going to be amazing in these next couple years, is the staff and this leadership has a growth mindset. We are focused on kindness and collaboration, celebrating differences. We are all like-minded, but we're all very different, and we want diversity of thought. We want different opinions, and we're embracing that. We're embracing our uniqueness. I love it when Becky speaks Spanish. I want her to speak Spanish as much as she possibly can. It's beautiful. And
Talk
then,
Spanish to us.
collaborating with other people, looking at those outside of ADHA, not as competition, but as collaboration. I think that we, as Don would say, we can move mountains together, and we can't do it by ourselves, and we need each other. So, Erin was a really great representative for us at Under One Roof. We had a really great meeting recently with the Hispanic Dental Association. There are entities out there that are like-minded, that want to see growth for our professions, but also improve patient outcomes. And I'm really excited just about the leadership, the opportunities for our profession, and collaborating with other people.
I just want to interject, because Andrew, you asked for how somebody could give us feedback. And there's a really easy way to do that. And it's pretty simple. You go to the ADHA website, adha.org. At the very bottom of the page is contact us. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. You can ask your question. It gets filtered into staff. They direct it to where it needs to go. If it needs to go to Becky, then it goes to Becky, because she's at the helm this year. But that's like the easiest answer to your question. If somebody's a non-member, that's how they can get to us. And we're happy to connect. I connect with quite a few hygienists. Oddly enough, people find ways to contact us, and we're here. We're here to mentor. We're here to lift them up. We're here to connect them. We're the connectors. We may not be everything to everyone, but we'll connect them to the person that can help them. And that's what I think was great about Becky's mentor story, is that just made me feel good when she told us about that. And, you know, something to think about in this process, Dawn was talking about our experience in Chicago at our annual conference. And there was something, I can't remember when you said it, Dawn, but I think you said it in your speech. I don't know exactly which one, but we've been through some difficult times. Yes.
There were so many.
But you said the best view comes after the hardest climb. And that is something that I wrote down on a piece of paper, and I have it on my desk, because it is not only important for our organization to think that way, but just personally thinking that way. Every day presents challenges to all of us, either professionally or personally, but the best view always comes after the hardest climb. So whatever that hardest moment is, just imagine what it's going to look like in 24 hours or 48 or 6 months or 1 year. So I'm thinking about, what is this organization going to look like next July? And I'm excited to think about that.
I love that, Erin, you know, because that beautiful view, right? We reached the summit when we were in Chicago together this past July. We made history together. When we reached the summit, that view is to be shared. It's not me, it's we. It's to be shared. And that's a really important message for all of us, because dental hygiene is our life. You know, we're about the smile business and eliciting and promoting smiles, because when people smile, they feel good. And that means they systemically, mentally, spiritually, physically, they feel good. And that's what we're really about. And Andrew, I wanted to share this really quick. We can't forget the students, because we had so many first timers in Chicago at the annual conference, and we had the largest pool of students this year and largest pool in our membership. So we love students, and they're our future. Our students are our future. So we want to give a big shout out. So we're raising our hands, everyone. You can't see us, but we're giving a big shout out to our students
Well, I
today.
think it's important we make note of that at our annual conference, but not only that, we're engaging our community in so many different forms. I think we had record numbers at our last webinar on medical emergencies, and we've got the upcoming webinar, which I'm really excited about. Is not that I'm excited about the content so much, is just that we're presenting it, is the active shooter, stop the bleed. It's important. We need to be safe in our environment. And I think that's what ADHA is really about, is helping us improve our work environment, helping us be more comfortable where we're at, and either managing medical emergencies, managing treatment in the chair with patients. We have top-notch webinars with research, but just being safe in our environment and what could make it better for us to be working there. And so I just think that, there's so many great things happening in the membership area. And not only that, we've got a really fantastic National Dental Hygiene Month coming up. And I'm excited to see how that plays out. It's going to be big with Colgate. So got to look for that.
Becky, I wanted you to share about the Fellows Program.
Thank you. We instituted the ADHA Fellows Program earlier this year, and we were hoping for a certain number of people to apply, and we exceeded that number, like doubled it pretty much. So we had, I forget the number in the first class,
150, 120,
something like that. So it's really exciting. And so now a lot of people can add that FADHA credential to their name. We had a little reception for them in annual conference in Chicago in July. And we're accepting applications for the next class to be presented this next year.
And
so we're really excited about that.
What are the qualifications?
Well, you have to be an ADHA member for at least 5 years. You have to have taken at least 100 CE hours in the last 5 years. You have to have a recommendation from another member.
Two recommendations
from another member. I'm trying to remember what I had to do for my application. But yeah, it's not difficult. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that qualify for that credential and don't even realize it, but they can just, apply, and they'll get their notification really soon if they're going to receive the credential or not.
And Andrew, it's a new credential to add to our name, FADHA.
And it opens up more doors. It opens more opportunities for a hygienist. And once you're a fellow, that's a pool that ADHA is going to pull from. That body of knowledge, all of those brilliant minds and all of that experience, we're going to pull from those individuals and use that for the Hygienist Hub. maybe the Journal of Dental Hygiene will pull from there. And I think that's the fantastic thing about our profession. We have just such brilliant people, brilliant minds in our profession. And I think that that's a great way to recognize them.
Well, I'll say, I don't know who said it, was Don or Becky or someone that said we'll never stick to our 30 minutes. You are absolutely right. We're way past that. But here's the thing. This is what I think these types of roundtables give the listener that, other roundtables can't. It's the true collaboration between all of you. It's the different experiences.
Yes.
It's the different, the direction that you all want to take. It's the same direction, but there's just different ways of getting there. And I really appreciate you all for being on. If it's all right with you all, I'm going to just put all of your email addresses in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, then that's how they can do that. But thank you all. I can't say thank you enough for being on today.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you for
It was a pleasure being here.
This was fun.
You can see we work
I know,
well
seriously.
together.
It's like, do you guys get work done? Like, it's too much fun. Like, come on.
You need to join us in
Oh,
leadership.
buddy. Oh, buddy.
You'd be awesome.
All right.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.